I'm Mort Cooper, your host on Change Your Voice, Change Your Life. In studio with me is my co-host, Dr. John Curtis, who has named the subtitle of the program. What is it, John?
This is Miracles Do Happen. And what's amazing is I understand that the current view of the medical profession about the treatment and cure of SD is that it's in fact incurable.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about that is that we have two guests here, and you're going to introduce them,
Mm-hmm.
Both of whom have been diagnosed by respected medical centers as having SD. Their voices are dramatically improved
Mm-hmm.
and on their way.
Yeah, I'll play the earlier tapes of their voice. You met each other in my lobby 4 weeks ago.
We did.
I want you to talk with...
I remember meeting Tim and thinking, oh my God, that must be how I sound. Oh, are we pathetic?
And I remember thinking, you know, I've never met anybody who sounds like me. And it was very interesting, and it's been something that has been helpful as we worked with you, worked with us to have each other.
We had a good laugh that first day when we heard each other. We just were howling.
SD patients, John, don't know there are others around with SD. They don't meet them. Let me play the tape of Nancy to begin with.
It seems like...
This is your voice.
When I'm on the phone, it seems like...
Sounds like a strangled voice.
When I talk, my voice goes...
Do you hear it?
When I talk, my voice goes...
What does it sound like to you?
Like an 80-year-old woman who's having a bad day.
Mm-hmm. Now, I knew where your voice was in the first few seconds.
I talk, it gets
This is the old voice.
Mm-hmm.
I asked you to hum the first bar of Happy Birthday. Can you hum that? Just point where it is.
I feel a sensation in my mouth and my nose area.
Yeah. I knew that your prognosis was excellent if you listened to me and changed your voice from the lower throat, where all SD is, to your face. This is so simple. And so I had you do that humming in a room after I took the interview. And with a young man here, the minister, I call all of you young. At my age, I was young just yesteryear, and it's amazing how I grew older overnight. This is Tim Kidwell.
On Botox because I found them to be ineffective.
That is the voice that you came in with.
3 separate ear, nose, and throat doctors told me I had VEVS.
Now, you were talking with that voice, and she was talking with her strangled voice in the lobby. What did you make of each other?
I was relieved to meet someone that I didn't have to explain myself to.
Could you understand each other?
I could understand him partly because I can read lips.
Well, and I could understand her because some of the problems she had with pronunciation, the same things I had, that I said, oh yeah, I know what you're saying, nobody else will.
You had trouble, you feared certain sounds, words, vowels, you told me? I love your I told you don't worry about that, we'll take care of that.
That's correct.
Nancy, you had certain fears of sounds, or what else did you fear?
I don't remember exactly. I just know that the vowels were harder to pronounce.
Are the vowels harder to pronounce now when you have your voice up in your face?
When it's in my face and when I'm talking calmly and relaxed, it's much better. I can get through all the sounds.
You sound perfectly normal. John, what do you make of it?
Well, the medical field, as we've said, is just flat out saying that there are no cures for this condition, that your condition is hopeless and that you're doomed to Botox treatments, which they claim are the state of the art. Which is interesting, I spoke with the president of the ex-president of the National Spasmodic Dysphonia Association. I asked him whether he endorsed Botox treatments as opposed to other treatments for SD, and he told me that they make no claims or advocate no one treatment over any other treatment. And one day later, I saw an article that he was quoted in as saying that Botox is the treatment, it basically is the cat's meow, he said, and is a godsend for treating patients with spasmodic dysphonia, and yet told me flat out to my, directly when I was interviewing him, that they don't make any endorsements. Now, the interesting part about that is that the National Spasmodic Dysphonia Association is a 501c3. This is a nonprofit organization that's supposed to disseminate the latest information about the state-of-the-art treatments and issues related to that field, spasmodic dysphonia. And what became clear talking to him is that he was basically an advocate for Botox treatments. And yet the Botox treatments, I know Tim had some experience with that, direct experience. Does he want to talk about his direct experience?
No. What happened? You took 4 Botox shots.
Correct. The first one, I had about a month of side effects in which I was anywhere from losing my voice completely to having the choking when I swallow to sounding like Mickey Mouse. There was a time I went through that. And then there was some relief for a couple of months.
It's a roller coaster ride.
Oh, absolutely.
You go in and out, up and down, and all around.
Plus went into your stomach.
Oh yeah, with the last time I went in, which was the 4th injection, the doctor missed twice, and the Botox ran into my stomach.
But they say, John, in the NSDA video that the needle is precise as to where they give the dosage. Did they change the dosage each time for you?
Well, if I wanted him to, he would.
How would you know what the dosage should be?
I wouldn't, but he would ask me, "What do you think? More or less?"
Well, who's running the show?
Well, that's what I thought.
When you came in to me, I told you what I wanted you to do.
That's correct.
This is your voice, isn't it? If I can.
Just imagine how frustrated. I've been there. I've been stuck. I've had to dig. I've had to jack up and set it down and jack it up and put stuff under it.
Is that a strangled voice?
That's definitely strangled. That was me preaching a lesson 2 months ago.
You've been preaching since you've been here.
That's correct.
Is your voice changing for the better?
Oh, yes, sir, absolutely. My family is here with me, and they've continually commented on how glad they are for me. And
So you can change your voice by what I'm doing, but the medical field says it's impossible. You have a dystonia once you're diagnosed with SD, and all you can do is either live with it or have Botox or have surgery, and none of them report the surgical procedure or the Botox report a single cure. You call the New York Times, and you spoke with Bill Keller, who is the new editor of the New York Times. I've corresponded with Howell Raines, the former editor of the New York Times, and Joseph Lelyveld, and I contacted Jane E. Brody, who wrote the original article in 1992 saying that there are no cures of spasmodic dysphonia, that Botox or surgery is the treatment of choice. The surgery that she suggested has ended in the dustbin of history.
You're talking about DDoS surgery? And we know some patients that have had that surgery too. What's interesting about the Botox, as Tim was describing, is that the maker of Botox, Allergan, claims that the product is 99% effective. Now, what's interesting about that is that we always question effective at doing what? We know that it creates paralysis, but do we know that it recreates a normal and natural speaking voice? The expectation I think that you had when you went in for medical treatment for your spasmodic dysphonia is that because you were diagnosed with a medical condition, you thought that there was a medical solution for it. And that was not a distortion on your part, Tim. That wasn't some wild expectation. That wasn't pie in the sky. That was very reasonable. What were you supposed to, what did you expect? You expected that if I go in with this set of symptoms, which was a strangled voice, and if I submit and they put you prostrate on the table, and put a needle into your neck, which they say, by the way, is like just a little minor bee sting.
Was it a bee sting?
you don't want to see the bee that stung me if it was a bee. It hurt.
Big bee.
How traumatic was it?
They would even offer medication to calm you because they knew that it was something that could cause a person to be very, very upset. It took everything I could muster to stay calm under the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily, when you submitted to this, you did this, didn't you, Tim, with the expectation that you had a medical condition with a medical solution. Am I right about that?
That's absolutely correct.
Isn't that true that that's really the expectation of every patient that has undergone a Botox shot, is that they were diagnosed with a medical condition and they thought there was a medical solution to it. So they submitted themselves to what is, by anyone's standard, a fairly gruesome treatment, having you lie out on a table, having somebody stand over you and put a needle into your neck with the expectation it's going to be landing in the right spot in your vocal cords and be able to help this.
With the right dosage.
The right dosage.
But they don't know. It's experimental.
So I think that when Tim went into this, he had reasonable expectations that his voice would be helped. He didn't know that when they're talking about the efficacy of Botox, they're talking about its ability to paralyze acetylcholine, which is a neurotransmitter in the muscle itself that causes muscle contraction. You didn't know that that's what they mean by Botox is 99% effective, did you? That it could cause essentially your muscle to become necrotic or dead for a window of time, and it then eventually regains its normal muscle activity. But that wasn't your expectation, was it?
No.
How much did they charge for the Botox shot?
My shots were $800.
The charge for Botox for SD folks is about $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a Botox shot. It's given 4 to 10 times or more each and every year for life by
Tim
a small,
actually got a bargain.
by a small cadre.
Tim had a bargain, but why is it that when there's a Botox party in L.A., and they have this all over the newspapers, Botox party, come down to this place and we'll inject you for $150 with a vial of Botox or $75. Why is it in your field when a patient goes to get a Botox shot, suddenly the botulinum toxin type A is costing upwards to $2,000? Why is that?
Or $3,000. It's not the Botox that's causing that, John. The Botox is very minimal in cost, whether you do it for the eyes or for the vocal cords. It's the skill. It's the skill of the ear, nose, and throat.
Well, wait a
doctor.
second. You just said that the skill, and Tim has just verified that his own doctor asked him once the needle was in his neck, "Is this enough Botox?"
They're saying that is the difference. It is not the cost of the Botox. That's where you're remiss.
That's why he got a deal. The guy didn't know what he
Well,
was
my
doing.
wife reminded me just this past week that the medication itself only cost $30.
Yeah,
The rest of
that's
it
right.
was
The same as at UCLA and elsewhere. So the answer to you is the skill of the practitioner, and they're saying their skill is worth $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 for a few minutes of an injection. It's given by a small cadre.
Well, wouldn't you tend to agree with them if he did get a natural speaking voice? But why is it that patient after patient has been in the same chair that you're in, have reported almost exactly the same thing that you have, namely that they lost their voice completely after getting the Botox shot, and when they got it back,
or they have a roller coaster.
Yeah, when they got it back a month later, they said there was some window in which they thought that they were getting some kind of a voice back, but compared, do you follow this? That we induce you to have no voice at all, then you get some resemblance or modicum of a voice back, and the patient's experience is, oh my God, thank God, I'm getting something back. And then they report to him, Dr. Cooper, well, I think the Botox shot helped on some level.
Well,
you feel like you have no choice because of the fact that you're told you can have a little relief or you can continue to live as you're living. Which do you choose?
For me,
they don't
I
give you any
chose-
choice. They don't give you real choice.
No, that was his choice.
For me, I chose nothing
It was
because
like-
I thought for sure down the road it would cause something worse than spasmodic dysphonia. The Botox.
Nobody knows what the outcome will be. Mitchell F. Brin in 1991 at an Allergan-sponsored meeting in Irvine, California, said at 3 p.m. in the afternoon in March of that year that he wants to withdraw Botox at the earliest possible time, fearing the long-term downside effects of Botox on the body. I think that's a real concern. It's like asbestos, it's like prefrontal lobotomies, and it's
Estrogen.
But Brin told you that his spokesperson told you that statement that he made back then was dated.
Yeah, that was about a year a year and a half ago, dated. Well, he's now a vice president of development for Allergan, the maker of Botox. This is your. I do want to add one thing, folks. I know it may be negative to hear from me, but the cadre that gives the Botox shots, I say it's a full employment act and a lifetime annuity. I don't have friends who give Botox shots, apparently. This is your, that's the voice that you can use when you first came in using this one.
When I'm on the phone, it seems like...
If you feel that it's poor quality, that's the voice.
Okay, when I'm on the phone,
it skips, it breaks, it's not there.
When I talk, my voice goes...
And this is the voice I can get immediately, which tells me that it can't be a dystonia. If you have amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, folks, Lou Gehrig's disease, you are not going to be intellectually changed no matter what I tell you, and no matter what anybody tells you, it's hopeless. So I know that SD, spasmodic dysphonia,
Tim should know this about
is not incurable.
Tim should know this about one of your patients who's been in the show. She actually she was injected by a very competent, respected otolaryngologist out of the University of Michigan, and she left there. She didn't get any relief. I believe she took 2 Botox injections.
And she had bowed vocal cords after.
She had virtually no voice at all.
She had no voice.
So she left there, and she kind of went on her own search, as you guys did, went and found Dr. Cooper, and then recovered her voice. In fact, was cured of SD.
For 6 years now.
She's been without symptoms for 6 years. I spoke with her directly. She has a beautiful sounding voice. But she returned back to her otolaryngologist at the University of Michigan. She presented back to him with a clear and natural speaking voice and said, "Doctor, I'm going to mention his name because we're not Dr. Norman Hokegian." And Dr. Hokegian listened to her voice and said, "Well, I'd like to give you another Botox injection." And she was baffled by that. I mean, and I spoke with Dr. Hokegian directly about that. He says he had no recollection of that particular patient, but then, according to the patient, said that he was going to address the neurological issue related to her spasmodic dysphonia, even though when she presented back to him, she did not have SD. So that's what you're dealing with here, is a medical paradigm. It really is a paradigm.
Yes, it is.
Where they really can't see any other frame of reference other than the tools, the techniques, the methods that they use within the medical field.
They cannot accept cures of spasmodic dysphonia. I'm the only doctor in the world doing it. Formerly on the staff and faculty of the Head and Neck Division, UCLA Medical Center, for 8 years, running the voice and speech clinic, breaking open all voice problems that you can imagine. This is...
Dr. Cooper,
yeah.
they could explain Tim's improvement and say it was the Botox that caused the improvement. How would they explain my improvement? I've had no intervention.
No, they can't explain Tim's...
They would take the credit, perhaps.
Yeah, they have tried in another case, but the patient said it had nothing to do with the Botox. The Botox paralyzes the vocal cords.
No, they say that Tim's problem just says spontaneous recovery, or that he has a psychogenic issue that was undiagnosed, and he deals with a psychogenic. That's why I asked you if he dealt with really deep-seated problems.
What changed your voice, Tim?
Right. Well, I haven't had Botox shot. It's been a year. Okay, and when I came to Dr. Cooper, I was just as bad as I've ever been. So.
But to answer Nancy, just her, what they would say about, what would they say about you? They would say that you were misdiagnosed. That's what they'll say. You never had
That's
SD.
That's a repetitive pattern.
It's a tautology.
It's
a circular argument.
Yeah, but I document the cures on my website. 15 cases at UCLA Medical Center Head and Neck Division from 2 chairmen, Paul Ward, chairman before Gerald Burke, both had SD cases. And additional cases, 15 in all, I have helped to a cure of spasmodic dysphonia diagnosed by the medical staff or faculty as SD, and I have worked with those patients and helped them to a cure of SD, following them up for years and years, up to 30 years. So when they say that it's not documented SD, that's not true. In fact, it's a bad rap. But the problem is that the medical centers want to continue doing Botox. It's a very lucrative field. If you can make $1,000, $2,000, and $3,000 a Botox shot, it's a full employment act, and it's a lifetime annuity. I have nothing against the medics making a lifetime annuity and full employment act. I do have it against them for not giving you choice of treatment. If you want Botox, that's fine. But let's take a listen to Tim. I got that in the first session with you in a few minutes.
Separate ear, nose, and throat doctors told me I had. They have
3 separate doctors.
3 separate ear, nose, and throat doctors told me I had. They have.
Isn't that interesting? 3 separate doctors told you had SD. So, John, you're saying that he doesn't have SD, or he had SD, but Botox resulted...
No, what Aronson would say, I spoke with him directly out of the Mayo Clinic. He would say that you had psychogenic SD. This wasn't real SD. This was a form of, it's one of these rare varieties of a neurosis of some kind that was cured with Dr. Cooper.
John, they diagnose SD, unless a psychiatrist is saying it, as neurological, because that's what they believe it is.
But that's the new paradigm, the medical paradigm that switched in the, the 1960s away from the psychiatric one. Now everything is neurological.
So they can do surgery.
But you see, if
because
they went back to the other
can't
paradigm,
do surgery on a psychiatric case, they can do surgery on a neurological case.
They can't do, if there's no psyche, do you think Botox is a cure for any kind of a psychiatric condition?
No.
But the interesting thing about that
is... It's a palliative.
The patients still get
4 to
their
10 times a year or more
drugs.
each and every year for life at $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. You have to ask yourself, is it the money? Is it the turf? Is it the ego? What's going on here? And they know that there are cures.
Well, what's frustrating is truth is available and it's being covered up. And as the Bible teaches, truth is what sets us free. And you have the truth that will set us, the SD patients, free. And they want to cover it up. And I can't help but refer to a religious analogy, but Jesus, in referring to those who opposed him, said, they have eyes to see and ears to hear, but they refuse to see and hear, lest they understand and be healed. If they accept your teaching, if they listen, they'll have to accept it because it's truth.
If they accept it, then they go broke.
They go broke.
The publicly traded corporations don't take. They give orders. They don't take orders.
Yes, and the love of money is the root of all evil.
You said something about St. Paul.
This is true. When Paul was accused of teaching heresy, the governor of Jerusalem said, "Much learning hath made thee mad." But you see, he's the one that had the truth.
Yeah. You said something about Mitchell F. Bryn. He's one of the finest humanitarian, compassionate, well-intentioned neurologist.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying he's the most respected researcher.
He has all his
publications behind him in the field of allergy.
And all I have is a peer-reviewed article report in 1980 reporting cures of spasmodic dysphonia and faulting surgery for its serious consequences. I oppose the entire medical community. I have no fear of them.
Well, they actually it's a carrot and stick approach that they've taken with you, and they're willing to reward you. I spoke with a woman who is affiliated with the National Spasmodic Dysphonia Organization, a charming lady, who said that you're refusing to take
October 14, 2000.
Her name is Peggy Aiken.
In my office and demanded that I not report cures.
She told me that Dr. Cooper's problem is that he's a nonconformist, and that if he will accept reformation, if he will accept to change his views, to be less disobedient, to be more in line with the rest of the profession at large, that they will feature him in the newsletter and they'll make life easier for him. And I was talking to her about a conference that was going to take place, I think it's already taken place, up in Portland, Oregon this year. That if you can go to Dr. Cooper and if you can get him to reverse this hard-headed approach that he has taken, that he has a cure for this condition, that we will consider him on the agenda of their national conference, but only if he will recant in front of a group.
No, I don't recant, because there are cures, and medicine is wrong. It's on the wrong road. My colleagues are medics. I know the best and the brightest of medics. I've associated with them. I think they're outstanding. They've made a mistake on this condition. They're wrong, wrong, wrong. John, there was another meeting in 2003 in Washington, D.C.,
Oh, that was a good
sponsored
one.
by Allergan. And
I want to tell them about. I spoke with the
We only
head
have a few
of the
minutes.
head and neck division, neurology division for the National Institutes of Health. This is who you've been hearing about in the news. This is where all the research in Bethesda, Maryland. This is where it takes place. Big, huge complex. They do all the research, all kinds of medical problems. And I said to her, wouldn't it be nice to have at your conference somebody who's presenting an alternative point of view, who has a cure for this condition, has been doing this for 35 years, has presented this information. And she said to me, oh, well, I know. This is Dr. Christy Ludlow. You'll see her name in the literature. She said, oh, I know Dr. Cooper. He has nothing new to report. I said, but he's reporting cures of SD. Isn't that an important, something you would like to have presented? There's nothing new. He does not have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 trials. He doesn't qualify.
I spoke with Ludlow. I like her very much. She's very charming. She's very humanitarian, compassionate, and well-intentioned. I said, Christy, I don't need phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 at the Federal Drug Administration. What is it? The Food Drug and
The FDA requires this of any new treatment.
Yeah, no, medical. I said, this is not a medical problem. That's why I can report cures. So I said, you're pointless in what you're saying.
Well, I said to her, what's wrong with a before and after clinical case study? It's a perfectly legitimate thing. The patient comes in with a set of symptoms, they come out.
Not for Allergan, the maker of Botox, that sponsors a study that is the maker of Botox, and they sell it. John, you want to summarize the miracles do happen of the two patients?
Well, I think the patient...
I'd like to have them talk about it.
Well, I do. I think they've come forward. They've given testimony here, and I think it's up for people in the audience really to evaluate.
I gave up Botox because I found them to be.
You have a few seconds. Tell us in the closing moments of the program.
The medical field they are the blind, and they want to keep us blind. And if the blind lead the blind, we're both going to end up in the ditch. And that's where I've been, and I want out, and I want to stay out.
I am just grateful I've been given tools to not only sustain the voice I've been given, but to improve it and get to the point where I am free from this monster called SD.
You're both under severe tension with Klieg lights, floodlights. I'm Mort Cooper. It's a pleasure to talk with you. The chances of a cure are there. Thank you very much for joining with me. Dr. Curtis, bye-bye.
You've dropped your voice a little bit.
I blew it.
Did you feel it dropping a little bit as you were talking? You need to bring it up
lack of
again.
focus
Yeah.
there.
You see, this is what happens with people. They just, it's a slip, a very easy slip. They're talking, they revert back.
Well, it's like being in a ditch, and you're wanting out, and when you get to the top, you say, I can see light. But for some reason, you go back to the bottom of the ditch and start doing what put you there in the first place.
When did I drop? Right at the end there?
Yeah, you were dropping a little bit.
So you be aware of what you